日本の皆様にお越しいただきありがとうございます。iRacing は世界で一番いいレーシングシミュレーターです。ぜひ日本で
Hello everybody and welcome to week 6. It's the halfway point of our Formula Ford season here on Monday nights, and it is from the tight and twisty Tsukuba Circuit. We thought we had a tight circuit to get round in the last few years, but Tsukuba is more like a go-kart track than anything else. Tight, twisty, based in Japan, probably raced it on many a computer game over the years. That's how it's become so popular as well with a lot of drivers. Tonight we have a whole grid of 19 drivers lining up to race. They're out there qualifying at this moment in time, and just having a look at the time so far, Frederick Surley is on pole position currently, one of the normally named drivers. Then it's Jay Ray, who we haven't seen until now. Nido Braun hits the front, so a couple of drivers near the front who we normally see in this championship, so that is good. The current number one car though, Rui Oliveira Texeira, is not currently setting a lap, so that'll be an interesting one to see. We'll go out there and have a look at some of the drivers qualifying at this moment in time. See who we can pick up on. Is Frederick Surley out there at the moment? Yes, he is. So he's just finishing his lap. Currently on top, as you can see, from Stephen Strudwick and Nido Braun. Jay Ray has dropped down to 4th place ahead of John Mole. Graham Roy Hunt has finished his qualifying off with 6th place. A bit lower than he probably would have hoped. Erwin Paul in 7th. Jun Chen in 8th. And it's Gallego in 9th and Alex Marcinskowski in 10th. Jason King, Scott Meadows, Caducci, Mike Dos Santos, Vitan, and 15 drivers there who have been out to set a lap time. But here is your number one car from Macau, Rui Oliveira Texeira. Let's see a nice lap, if we can, from his onboard of this circuit and how tight and twisty it can be. So he's now heading down from the hairpin towards the final corner, just trying to get his tyres up to temperature. And we'll watch this lap on board with the number one driver in this lobby. He goes round the final corner, he heads to the straight, not too wide on the exit, heads up to the hairpin uphill, then it flattens off just as you get to rise, just when you want to be braking. That's nicely held by Rui through the first corner. Then you have this S-bend section where you're braking as you're turning into this second hairpin on the circuit, second one of 3 really. Speed back up to about third gear through on the lock bridge, then a long left-hander where you need to try and get the car straightened up for the hairpin. As you hit the brakes, manages to do so, keeps it tight, gets a good run out. So this is a good clean lap by Rui at the moment. Whether it's fast, we will find out very shortly as he heads down the long back straight, longest straight there is at this circuit. He's a little bit off the apex there, but not too bad because it's such a long corner. You get on the power just that little bit earlier, and he comes across the line, and that is second place currently for Rui, 2/10 off the pole of Frederick Surley, but obviously has his second lap to go. So we'll see how he gets on. 17 cars have gone through qualifying, with Peter Maddox popping up in 14th place. Peter, the Australian, doing not too bad on... Oh no, he's up to 11th now, Maddox. So that's a great qualifying lap by him to put himself only 8/10 off the pole position. You will see the times are pretty close around here in general because of it being a short, tight circuit, but technical as well. Down towards final corner. Cross the line and takes the pole position with 57.76, 1/10 exactly quicker than Frederick Surley. So we'll just see if any of the rest of the drivers are still qualifying. Here's Vitan, who I think's done his 2 laps and is just getting some lappery in to practice while we wait to see. Currently, Alexander Demont and Diego Mirero are not. Sorry, Diogo Morero. There we go. Has not set a time currently, so we'll see whether that changes. But there's only a few minutes left, so let's wait until the drivers now have to line up on the grid for the start of this race. Waiting for the grid positions to come out. The results from qualifying just need to be put through the computer and into grid order. Here comes your grid for today's race around Tsukuba. Texera is on pole position ahead of Frederick Surley. Zhu Chen and Stephen Strudwick round out your second row of the grid. Then it's a German, Nido Braun, who's also been really good with qualifying lately this year, ahead of newcomer, the Argentinian, Naul Gallego. Jay Ray and John Mole make it an all North American row 4 ahead of Graham. Roy Hunt down in 9th in the end. He'll be looking to try and come through with Erwin Paul. Peter Maddox and Alex Marchiski round out your top 12. 13th is Jason King ahead of Scott Meadows. Then it's Carducci, the Argentinian, and Dos Santos, the Brazilian. Vitan, Moreno, and Diamante round out your grid. So we'll just wait for everybody to line up on the grid before we get too far into this race. You can see there is the front row of Frederick Surley. What a bit of a wonky grid, actually, if you see it from this view. Yawn there. Just waiting for Rui Texera and John Mole to join the grid. Do in a minute. They only have 20 seconds left to do so. We were waiting for 3 drivers. Diamante, who didn't do qualifying, so I'm presuming isn't in the lobby to do the race. Then John Mole is on, and we're just waiting for Rui Texera to take the pole position. There he is. The lights are on. We're waiting for a start now. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And away we go at Tsukuba for the Formula Ford on Monday night. A good start by the front row, but a great start by Frederick Surley. He's going to be right up the inside of Texera into turn number 1 and has managed to make it through, but Texera hangs around the outside and will have the inside line for the second hairpin in the race. It's Shen up in 3rd, Strudrick 4th and Braun in 5th, and Ray has managed to get past Gallego into 6th place. We're hearing some crashes at the back. Looks like Marcinskowski and Dos Santos are out, or at least crashed so far. Alex Machinsky is back on the circuit, but this is already coming round towards the end of lap number 1, and you can see it's just a train of cars at this moment in time. It's impossible for them to be split around this short circuit. Surly has a look up the inside into turn number 1. That's a brave move if ever I've seen one. Inside into the final corner. They all run very, very wide, so across the stripe for the first time. There's a Meadows has got a meatball, so he'll be heading to pit lane. Xera, Surly, Shen, then Strudwick, then a little bit of a gap back to Braun and Ray, Moll. And as you can see, the top 11 still covered by 4 seconds, which is pretty much, I mean, if I go back to Peter Maddox, he's still in the queue. Peter Maddox in 11th place currently, still in this queue of drivers, so nobody's really been dropped by too far unless they've been involved in that accident. But back at the front, Xera leads from Surly. Gap has widened to 0.3 of a second. Obviously that will come down around this fast part of the circuit. Surly again having a little nose up the inside into the final corner. I don't know whether that's just more he turns in earlier than Texera or not, but we shall see about that. We've got a move further back. Is that... It's not John Mole, that is Gallego, and Hunt normally almost loses it on the apex of the corner there, manages to keep on going, but now has the attentions of Erwin Paul behind him, so not going so well for Hunt. Gallego has moved up into 8th place, but again at the front, Texera pulls out this 0.3 of a second lead around the tight and twisty infield, and then they get onto the back straight, and Surly will start drawing that back in. As you can see on the timing tower, Meadows did rejoin the circuit, only 10 seconds off the back of the pack, so any incident for anybody and Meadows will be there to pounce. You'll have to find some pace to move up the field just through overtakes though. So Texera takes the fastest lap of the race, pulls the gap out to 0.6 of a second. Ahead of Surly, Chen, Strudwick. You'll see at the back of that, Nido Braun has joined the back of the field for German, and he's there. We're on board with him now going into the second hairpin. Strudwick having a look at Chen, but it's a watching brief for Nido Braun at this moment in time. We've just seen Diego Moreno, who's gone off in the background. He's rejoined ahead of Meadows zone. That's why by Chen spun, and that's going to flick round. Disaster there for Nido Braun as Chen spun out. It looks like Braun's got caught up. Can he get going again? Yes, he does finally get going down in 14th place. Chen was the driver who was spun in the middle. So let's see if we can see what happened there for Chen in the hairpin. Is in the hairpin at this time. Do we hear any contact? They've just gone deep and then took a downshift at what... Was it needed or not? I'm not sure, but Chen then managing to come off the best of it all, and Nido Braun not coming out of it in any good shape at all. Luckily no meatball there for the Germans, so we'll see where Nido Braun starts to move out, but Chen has got back onto the back of Gallego at the moment, and just in front of him is Hunt, who's moved up to 6th place in all that chaos. So doesn't look like there's going to be too much damage to Chen's car. As we see on board, no, there's no bent steering or anything, so it is all about playing in the slipstream for Chen to make sure that he can use the slipstream to negate any disadvantage he has in the aero setup. A new fastest lap of the race by Texera opens the gap up at the front. Just have a quick look here, it's Texera from Surly. Strudwick now in 3rd place in the Kick Sauber coloured Formula Ford Ray 1600. Then it's J. Ray who's managed to get ahead of John Mole in this battle. Roderick ran a little bit wide in the hairpin there, but absolutely fine. Then we look back, there's Graham Hunt who's by himself now because Chen's made a move on Erwin Paul. I think that one was down into... Oh Oh no, sorry, Chen made a move on Gallego, and then Erwin Paul's followed him through, so we'll have a look at it here. Chen, was contact in turn 1, so it wasn't as clean as we thought it was. That's why Chen is now up ahead of Gallego, and Gallego is in 13th place now, fallen right down the field and out of contention. Back with this pack, it's the closest battle so far on circuit, as the leaders have a bit of a gap between each of them. It's Texera 1 point ahead of Surly, 3.4 back to Strudwick, and then 5 seconds back to Ray, who is just holding off from Mole at the moment, and then Hunt is by himself. Caducci has had a spin coming out of a hairpin, so Caducci is now getting back going again, and is now back behind Braun and Gallego, who have had them incidents during the races. Now looking though at the battle for 4th place, J Ray against John Mole, USA versus Canada, car 3 versus car 5, and new fastest lap again by Texera, just eking that gap out by a few tenths every single lap. On board with J Ray at this moment in time, just keeping it as close as he can in terms of the apex of his corners. Just lost his onboard camera a couple of times there, but he's holding back. And then we go back to John Mole, who's all over the back of the American, trying to find a way through this way and that. Will he have a look down into the hairpin? He's having a look. The nose gets cut off by Ray, and then it'll be whether he can get better run out the corner. He's got a decent run out the corner. I don't think it's going to be a little bit too much, but Ray goes to defend just to stop Mole trying it. Mole tries to go right round the outside. That's not going to work. Ducks in behind for the slipstream up towards turn number 1, and these two are closing in slightly on Stephen Strudwick, so they might not want to battle too hard at this moment because it's only lap 9. Bit of a connection issue there for Ray going into turn number 1. Behind them, there's a gap of 2 seconds forward to Stephen Strudwick and a gap of 2 seconds back to Rory Hunt. So it is really going to be a decision of whether they start fighting and maybe fall back into the clutches of Hunt, who is in 6th place at this time. Mole has another look into the hairpin, not quite making it through this time. This must be starting to get really frustrating for Mole, as he knows he's probably got the pace just to slip past, but there's some great defensive driving by Ray, moving before Mole does, so it's not in reaction to Mole. It is all about defensive. See, defense before Mole even had the chance to have a look, but Mole having a look around the outside. Are they going to touch? They don't quite touch there, and it was close there. Mole just tucking back in behind, but he's getting closer and closer. He's setting new fastest laps for himself as well, while he is stuck up behind Ray, so there must be some learning going on as well by Mole. And they are slowly but surely just closing that gap to the car in front. For me, I don't think they've got half a race to go. It's only lap 10 around this. Mole almost gets it wrong into the hairpin, doesn't run up the back of Ray, and loses a couple, probably about 2 car lengths to the American. He'll gain that all back in the slipstream now. He's just trying to distract Ray in the background. And as we can see in the background, here's Chen and Erwin Paul, who is in 8th place, and these are trying to close in on Rory Hunt again after he pulled off that little gap when Chen made it through as well. When Chen had that little incident with Gallego. Bit of a battle further back. We'll just have a quick look here. Nido Braun having a battle with Dos Santos for 11th place, not where Braun would want to be. There's another battle behind between King and Gallego. Gallego not really having the pace he had earlier on in the race. Back at the front, it's Rui Texera fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap, just coming back and forward, trying to set quicker and quicker lap times just to keep eking out that gap. That time didn't even improve his lap time, but did pull out another 0.3 of a second on Frederick Surley, who of course is driving for the sponsors Filmbil, who are stunt and car coordinators for films and programs in Norway. Certainly a company to have a look at if that is something that you need to look into during, and we thank them for the sponsorship as well, which is really helping the broadcast come to life. Here's Stephen Strudwick, as we said, in the kit colour car with a Lando Norris helmet. He is doing a good job in third place, not really catching in front, but not losing out. Moreno has jumped to the pit, so that is the end of the race for Moreno. 2 laps down now. King is falling down the order. What's happened to Jason King? We're on board with him, and he's in the gravel. And that looks like the gravel at turn number... Oh no, it's a hairpin at the back straight. So there goes through. That is not what King wanted, and he's got a meatball to suffice as well. So King will be heading straight into pit lane now, and we'll try and catch up what happened to Jason King. Coming down into the hairpin, made the move on Lego, and is it a dive back? Oh, it's more an avoidance, but it ends up being a collision. It was an avoiding move in the first place. But that's just so unfortunate for Jason King, because he was obviously trying to be avoided rather than anything else. But here through the pack comes Rui Teixeira, 3.3 seconds ahead of Frederick Surley. We're going to have a quick look back at this battle. John Mole is back on the back of J. Ray. Has a look up the inside, doesn't quite make it move. Ray just got enough on the brakes to stay ahead into that first corner hairpin, but Mole straight back on after that little mistake at the hairpin a few laps ago. Frederick ran a little bit wider again. These two are closing. They're back down to about 1.5 seconds to Stephen Strudwick, so they might be able to reel him in if they don't fight too hard. Mole having another look down into the hairpin, and it is now off towards the back straight again. We'll go with a helicam. Early defence by Ray, very early defence. There is still a gap up the inside. Will Mole go for it? No, he sits in behind, keeps Ray having a tighter line. This is going to give him a good run. You can see it already. He's got a good run onto the back straight, front straight. Can he take a dive up the inside? Tries to distract Ray. He's squeezed, and still not enough momentum by Mole to make it past. And this is a really interesting battle for 4th place, because they can see Strudwick just up the road. Guido Braun has managed to make it into the top 10 now in the background, so that'll be a move up in the first corner. But we're keeping our eye on this battle for 4th, because they could catch this podium fight still. Lap 15, there's just under 6 minutes to go in this race. Ray gets a run out, Mole gets a good run out as well. Is Mole going to have a look? We'll go on board with John Mole as he goes up towards the final corner, keeping it tight. There's Strudwick just not too far ahead at all. This could be a fight for a podium if these two keep working at the pace they are. The gap has then again not closed on the last lap actually. Strudwick managed to put a good 58.0 there to match the 2 cars behind. And that's where the struggle will be for Ray and Mole. Do they fight for this position, or do they try and close on upon Strudwick? Even if they close up, it's difficult to overtake around this circuit. You really have to catch somebody unawares through the Tsukuba Circuit. And as you can see, Mole has now actually dropped back a little bit from Ray through that middle section, just running a little bit wide in one of the corners. Have a look a bit further back. This is back with Chen and Paul. They have both not managed to gain too many positions overall. They are back up in front. Well, the recovery drive for Chen is back to 7th place, 4 places down on its starting position. Paul obviously moving up. It ended up being 2 places so far. Peter Maddox just behind them coming into the fight. Maddox has had a really good drive from 11th on the grid. Obviously gained a few places due to incidents, but he is actually closing in on the back of these two. And if these two start fighting, it'd be a similar situation to Strudwick in 3rd place. It will just get closed on, and then the pressure might tell and a mistake might come. So Chen and Paul do have to watch their backs. Instead of looking at Roy Hunt down the road, they have to look at Peter Maddox close behind. Back with Frederick Surley, a driver who has been consistently near the front of this soft race field throughout the first half of this season. Now looking for another podium. There's been a couple of mistakes though by Surley, so we don't rule him into a podium, even though he does have this comfortable gap forward and backwards. We'll have to wait and see. And I think there's been a mistake somewhere by Jay Ray, and he's again got Mole all over the back of him. There's still the gaps closing just tiny millimeters at a time to Strudwick, and I think Strudwick could be safe for this podium. But Ray and Mole are pushing hard now and fighting hard over this position. We go to the aerial cam, and yet again Ray goes to the middle of the track to defend. Can Mole stick it up the inside? He chooses not to. He looks to. Oh, that was an interesting switchback by Mole. Wasn't quite enough room. The gap shut just before he got there. And a new fastest lap of race by Texera, 57.426. Great lap there. Fastest in the final sector of 4 around this circuit. Oh, and we got meatballs further behind. There seems to be a crash between Marcin Kowalski and Gallego. So we'll have a look now. Oh no, there's something already broke on Gallego's car there. So we'll have a look at. Oh, and he's just spinning. Oh, there we go. That's where Gallego had to catch. Have a look. There, that's where the damage come, and both of them will be heading to the pits for broken suspension. There's no way those cars will get back into the race without using their fast repair. So we're down to 15 running altogether. It looks like Jason King actually rejoined the circuit as well. So only Moreno out, and Marcinskowski doesn't look like he's rejoining at this moment in time. Have a look rearward from Steven Strudwick. Look behind, the Saints are charging down on him. Ray and Mole, the North Americans closing in, and Hunt's off the track somewhere. Graham Hunt has had an issue and is off the track. It looks like it may have been in the first hairpin. Let's see. No, he got out of the first hairpin. So what has happened down into the second hairpin? Outbraked himself and then lost the back end, and around he goes, and that allows Chen and Paul through, and Maddox, and Hunt rejoins just behind. But we are on the final lap here. Texera has took the white flag. He has 4.6 second lead. He has to cruise this one home. Rui Texera has dominated tonight's proceedings with a clear and obvious advantage, really. He was on pole by a tenth of a second, has walked away from this field as the race has gone on, and Rui Texera is coming up towards the final corner. There we can see Gallego in the background, 1 lap down, but Texera comes around and takes the victory here at Tsukuba. A great win by Texera. We'll look further back, he slides across the line. Frederick Surley will come home in second place, and in the battle for third it will be Steven Strudwick, who just keeps behind Ray and Mole. They were closing in very, very quickly. We look back at 6th place, Chen, Paul and Maddox all come across the line there to finish their race. There's Hunt in the background, sliding across the line. He'll be frustrated with that one, down in 9th place, with Nido Braun in the top 10. What a race we've had there. A great drive at the front of the field, but the midfield was not really predictable what would happen in that midfield as the race went on. It was going to be tough to work out who ended up where. It was all down to the mistakes that happened. We had the mistake from Hunt, we had a mistake from Braun, we had a mistake from King, Gallego, Meadows up to 14th in the end at the end of that one. So a good drive overall. But now everybody's crossed the line, so let's have a look at the race results here from Tsukuba. Texera takes the win by 5.32 seconds, a clear victory, a dominant victory, never headed at the front of the field ahead of Frederick Surley. As I mentioned before, the sponsor for this Formula Ford on Monday nights. Strudwick comes home in 3rd place ahead of the battling North Americans of Ray and Mole, the American, followed by the Canadian across the line. Then it's another American in 6th place, for Ji Chen. And then he was followed home by Erwin Paul and Peter Maddox in that close battle, which ended up 6th because of Hunt's mistake near the end of the race. Graham Hunt comes home in 9th place ahead of Nido Braun. Lilibus Vitan comes home in 11th place for Croatia. Great move, actually the biggest mover up the field of 6 places there for Vitan. So very good job by him. Dos Santos in 12th, Carducci in 13th after his mistake, Meadows in 14th after having to pit early on. Gallego had a very instant packed race, but was really quick at the start of the race in terms of how they were fighting. Alex Marcinski in 16th place ahead of Jason King and the Brazilian Moreno. And then Alex Diamante did not take the start. That's it for Tsukuba this weekend. Well, this Monday evening. We're then moving on next week to Phillip Island as we start the second half of the season with a trip down under to the fast-flowing Phillip Island circuit. Then we head to the tight and twisty nature of Winton. So two round the other side of the world, shall we say, in Australia. Then we head to Brazil for Interlagos, the Grand Prix circuit there, a favourite with a lot of drivers. And then we'll end the season with a trip to Navarra for the speed circuit, Silverstone International Circuit, and then Lime Rock Park to end the season. But I thank you all for joining us on this Monday night for the Formula Ford soft race. It's actually been really good to be back over the last 6 weeks, and the support for the stream has been brilliant, so I have to thank you all for that. If you can, hit the subscribe button there on YouTube, hit the like button, and leave any comments you have on the stream. And we will only look forward to 6 amazing rounds of Formula Ford action in the second half of the season. Good night.